Because of the way this is set up, there is a rod that goes through this section of the hull that's encased in a rubber tube. And as these machines age, that rubber tube can crack, degrade, and allow a tremendous amount of water into your hull that'll sink your machine in a matter of a few minutes. So the first step that I would do is remove this 3mm hex right up at the top here. Now that that is out, we have freedom here. We can lift this up off and then get that out of the way so that we can get to these screws. If we pull that towards us, we can spin this whole assembly. Now you could remove that bolt from the inside of there, but typically I don't bother because all this stuff is going away. So our next step after getting our actual OPAS fin off is with a 5mm hex, we're going to take these 4 bolts out. Okay, now we can remove this from the back of here, and you notice we've got this hose with an Whittaker clamp on there. So we're going to want to grab a screwdriver or something and get on this Whittaker clamp and pop that loose so that then we can pull that out. Then we can move to the back of the machine, remove the 13mm bolt that holds the metal U lever to the steering nozzle. Then we get a 10mm socket and wrench. We can remove the bolts that hold that U lever to those plastic arms. After that, we unscrew the plastic arms from the rods. Then we can move back to the outside of the hull to remove the rod. Now I'm going to reach in here and push on this so that I can grab it up here and remove that whole rod. Now we're going to do all the same stuff that we just did to this side. We're going to remove the fin and all that tie rod and get it to the same point as we've got over here on the other side. We just want this whole area to be nice and clean, so dab a little bit of that onto a rag. Then we're just going to clean this whole area where this delete is going to fit, because we want it to all seal up real nice and not leak ever again. So we'll do the same thing in here on the inside. Kind of wipe everything down good in the area. Let that dry for a minute, and then we're ready to put our plates on. So something important you're going to want to know as you go to put these plates on is the correct orientation. This is the correct orientation. This angled arrow looking side faces back, and this little nub should be on the bottom. Now what I like to do with these is put just a ever so slight thin coating of some sort of a RTV. I've got just black generic RTV here. I just like to put a little skim coat around that O-ring, around where that center bolt goes, and in here as well. Now I should mention I've already placed the O-ring into the groove here, and we need to grab our old OPAS assembly, and there is a rubber seal where that hose fitting came through, and we're going to press that in right in here. Get that RTV under there, and then spread whatever remaining RTV there is around on top. Get it around that O-ring nice, and get it around that seal there on the bottom nice. Make sure that we are all coated with a nice thin coat. We don't want gobs and gobs of RTV so that it's spewing out everywhere, but just enough that it will help stick. Now while that's tacking up real quick, let's get some blue thread locker. This gel stuff in the twist tube is the nicest thread locker you will ever use. Just twist the bottom like chapstick and then roll it on and it stays in place. And so we're going to put just a little dab on all 4 of our bolts. We don't want a lot, just a little. Okay, that's probably the perfect amount of time that we can take our plate with our O-ring and our seal, salvaged from the old OPAS hardware, press it into place, and start our 4 bolts in. Now the RTV that we put on there, part of the reason I like to do that is that it holds everything in place. That's why we use a real thin coat. It just makes it a little bit easier to put everything together because it all stays on there so that when we lose our ratchet, you've got time to find it and tighten this stuff up without the O-ring or that seal dropping out of place. Snug all of those down fairly reasonably tight. And we're going to go put the plate on the other side. Then we'll move in here to our inner plates and go from there. So our inside plates here, we get O-rings around here and big O-rings in the middle. I like to do the same thing though, just a little bit of RTV to help everything seal together all nice. So let's just put a thin coat, just enough to be on there. There we go. Perfect. Now we'll take our small O-rings, push them in around there and there. Then we'll grab our larger O-ring and place it in the center spot and just kind of smash that all into that RTV and spread that all around nice so that it's right where it all needs to be. And there we have it. I don't know that Loctite will do anything because we're biting into fiberglass on these, but I like to put just a little dab on there just in case. Now we're going to do a bit of a dance to get this plate into here and these screws started. So I'm going to go like this, start that in, grab our other screw, start that in, hold that thing up tight so that the RTV kind of holds it in place, and then use our ratchet to snug down our bolts. Can't get these as tight, which is part of why I feel that the RTV is especially important on these, because it'll just help everything adhere and stick in there just a little bit better. So now that we've got this side done, we'll do the same thing over here. So the very last thing we need to do, pull our reverse bucket down. If you look up in here, see this white elbow and this hose that comes along here? We're going to remove a lot of this assembly. So let's get a screwdriver and remove this hose clamp. Let's remove this hose clamp. And let's see if we can't pull this section of hose out. Okay, so we have this little hose section pulled out of here. We're going to take the little rubber cap that comes in our kit. Again, I like to put a little bit of RTV in there. Just a little touch, just as a sealer. Squeeze that up over that nipple. I went and got a brand new hose clamp, and we'll just pop this up on over there, and then snug it down. There we go. Now, this thing, you could repurpose this to make a water flag like a Yamaha, but that's not what we're going to do. We're going to grab an adjustable wrench, get in here, and loosen this thing up. There we have it, little screen in the end. Okay, so we've got a little touch of blue Loctite on our plug here. We're gonna take and start this in. This isn't gonna thread all the way down in flush. So just get your wrench and snug it up decent. That's nice and tight. And so that's it. Hi there, it's me, Tom from the future, and I have something extra to tell you here. If you have a 2002 year model Seadoo, the inside OPAS plate in the pump tunnel is slightly different. Let me show you a few photos so that you can see the difference, and then I'll show you what we're going to do to make sure that we can install these plates and block off our OPAS even on the 2002 models. So we need to ream these holes out towards the inside until they line up, and then we're just going to use our 3M5200 or RTV if you prefer to seal this to the hull permanently. So let's clamp this in a vise and get started with that. There we have it. That'll work. So let's get our 5200 and we can go put these on our 2002 model machine. So that's the additional tip that you need to know to install an OPAS Delete on your 2002 model Seadoo. Hopefully the rest of this video has showed you everything you need to know, and if you've got a 2003 or newer model ski, you won't need to do this modification to these plates, but this is something that because of the 2002 model, it's just got to be done. So hopefully all of this was helpful for you. Gets your Seadoo back on the water without massive water leaks. Thanks for watching.